Former special counsel Jack Smith, who indicted Trump twice, wants the public to hear his story. Today, Smith's lawyers requesting he testify in open hearings, citing the, quote, many mischaracterizations of Smith's criminal probes into Trump. Smith's team also requesting assurance from the DOJ that he will not be punished for answering questions under oath. During his time as special counsel, Jack Smith only made public appearances when necessary. Now the famously tight-lipped Smith is speaking up. And he is in a rare interview right here at MSNBC with Andrew Weissman talking about his experience.
Once we get in a position where we start talking about maybe not following court opinions we don't like, we are lost. The attacks on public servants, it has a cost for our country that is incalculable. Apolitical people who wanted to do the right thing and do public service. Everybody who worked on my team was fired. The idea that politics played a role in who worked on that case or who got chosen is ludicrous.
The GOP-led House Judiciary Committee now going after Smith. Surprise. Smith facing accusations that a subpoena of lawmaker phone records was illegal spying. Smith's team rebuking this claim, writing, quote, the subpoena for toll records was entirely proper, lawful, and consistent with established Department of Justice policy.
Certain people are claiming that there was either electronic intercepts or some kind of improper spying. We're talking about telephone records. It's completely disclosed in the indictment and or the report, and that you would have to get approval to do that if it involved a member of Congress.
That is fair. That is correct.
Joining me now is Tara Setmeyer, co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project and author of Uncompromised on Substack. Tara, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So I'll start with this. I think it's really important to draw lines between the behavior that we're seeing from this administration. We've seen Tish James. We've seen John Bolton. We've seen James Comey. We have seen the President of the United States threaten to go after people he considers to be enemies and then go after them using the government. What do you think Jack Smith's strategy is here by saying, all right, pull up, I'll go first? Is it because he's seen what's happened to these other people, or is it because he really thinks there's something the public needs to hear?
I think it's a combination of both, because sunlight is the best disinfectant here. And the fact that Donald Trump is trying to whitewash and rewrite history about what happened, he's still going on and on about the 2020 election, despite the fact that we all know that he lost. He's now in power again. He can't let it go. So the New York Times had an explosive front page story about all these election deniers who are now in positions of power inside the Department of Homeland Security, who are actively toying with things that could potentially harm our elections going into the midterms, all because that is the mandate coming from Donald Trump. And Jack Smith is at the center of this retribution tour, because Jack Smith is a patriot. He was an honorable public servant who's given his entire adult life to the law and serving the public. And if he speaks publicly, it's very difficult to deny the investigative prowess, the facts. He can lay it out in a way, he's articulate. He can lay it out in a way that the American people have actually never heard before, because he handled that investigation with such integrity. He wasn't out there in front of the cameras all the time and sullying the process. He did his work, and so did his team. So this would be an opportunity to shed some light on what actually happened here. And I'm sorry, I'm putting my money on Jack Smith and his team and the truth versus what Donald Trump and his, henchmen have to say about the 2020 election.
I want to play you some sound from Jack Smith. It's in a video from the Bulwark where he's talking about the rule of law being eroded, and get your thoughts on the other side.
What I see happening at the Department of Justice today saddens me and angers me. Where the rule of law is eroding, friends of the president do not have to worry about following the same laws that the rest of us follow. One of my concerns is that we have had the rule of law function in this country for so long that many of us have come to take it for granted.
When you have Jack Smith saying, hey, look, the rule of law is being eroded, and we see day after day after day after day this administration pulling back from investigation to be going 2, 3, 5 years, offering pardons to people who are in business with Trump or his family or his cronies one way or another. Is Jack Smith sounding the alarm on something that's happening, or has this pretty much already happened and we should be thinking about how to resist it?
Well, he wasn't the only one sounding the alarm before the election in 2024. There were many of us out there, including people who worked for Donald Trump previously, who said, you cannot elect this guy. Do you understand what he's going to do to our democracy and what he's going to do to our institutional norms? He's telling us. They wrote it down in Project 2025, for goodness sakes. So, it's no surprise that Jack Smith, knowing what he knows and what he saw Donald Trump try to do and the people around him, what they tried to do, the level of corruption, the illegality, the disregard for the rule of law. Jack Smith knows firsthand. So I think that it doesn't take someone like Jack Smith to show us or tell us. We see what's happening in front of our very eyes. The absolute abject corruption and disregard for our Constitution and rule of law and our institutional norms is happening day by day, to the point now where we're literally seeing the demolition of our democracy right in front of us. The American people should not be okay with this. Absolutely should not be okay with this. And the fact that our elected officials on the Republican side, who also privately are not okay with this and haven't been, but are too cowardice to speak up and say, stop this, is just another reason why the No Kings rallies and the from the ground up grassroots anger of the American people has to maintain. Because who you elect matters. Elections have consequences. And when you have military families standing in food bank lines and families struggling because of a government shutdown, and the president of the United States bragging about a freaking ballroom that's going to cost $300 million from donors who are actually just buying influence, there's something very fundamentally wrong with that. And I think MAGAs need to start asking themselves, is this really what you voted for? Because this is what you're getting. He doesn't give a damn about you or anybody else. And I hopefully that message starts to resonate, because it's pretty obvious.